All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's Nick Petro at the National Weather Service. It's 5:30 Wednesday afternoon, October the 10th, with your Hurricane Michael update for Central North Carolina. And before we get started with the briefing, let me first show the current situation what's going on. And we've got Hurricane Michael obviously has made landfall and is moving very quickly. And I want to point out that on satellite, it appears that this band here of rain that's going across portions of North Carolina at this time, it appears that it's wrapped, the top of it anyway, wraps back down to Florence. But this system here, what actually initiated this was a separate, disturbed weather that just came off the ocean here. So this indeed is separate, but it's impactful in itself. So currently these little areas of let me zoom in here to better show this area of heavy rain. In fact, is already producing some instances of flooding. Let me put this to the latest image, and you can see there's currently a flash flood warning in effect for a big portion of the foothills and mountains northwest portion of North Carolina. And certainly, there's been several inches of rain that have already fallen in the higher terrain of North Carolina, and it looks like the screen's flashing again. I apologize for that. We'll get that fixed up here in a minute. But my main point here is that you could see there's still a fair amount of rain there that extends from basically from the Triad south toward Rockingham, and then south, over the border into South Carolina toward Florence. That area of rain will gradually lift north and give us give a large portion of the area to a half inch of rain, at least across central North Carolina. So let me close that out so it quits flashing. And here's another look. Here's another look at that area of rain that's falling, and you could see gradually and eventually this area of rain that you see here across, like I said, it's from the Triad down toward Rockingham. Eventually, that will fill in and lift to the north. So we should all of central North Carolina should see a little bit of rain from this as we head through the nighttime hours. And again, I wouldn't be surprised to get a half inch of rain and maybe even some ponding of water on roadways. So watch out for the wet roads and areas of ponding water tonight, this evening and tonight, if you're heading out this evening. So anyway, going back to bear with me here for just a second, put the slides up here. So what has changed since our 11 o'clock briefing? And basically we've expanded the tropical storm warning. The storm is moving faster, and we made some westward adjustments to the higher rainfall amounts. Where have we expanded the warning, the tropical storm warning, that is? And you could see Wake County over to Nash County and Edgecombe County northward is now in the tropical storm warning. So remember what tropical storm warning is issued for. It's issued for wind. So that's a way to convey wind impacts. We have a separate flash flood watch that covers actually almost all of North Carolina. And that's in effect right through tomorrow into tomorrow night. Here's the latest. Obviously, as I pointed out when we first got started, that Michael has already made landfall, and it's gradually weakening. We haven't really made any changes to this since 11 o'clock. Still expect flash flooding to be the greatest impact, and wind's not too far behind. And really, the only thing we changed here since our 11 o'clock briefing is the timing. We expect we changed this from Thursday night to Thursday evening, because we think the winds, the bands that will produce the wind should, and the rain for that matter, should exit central North Carolina maybe a little bit sooner tomorrow evening, early in the night than we were expecting. But the key thing here is that sustained winds of 20 to 30 miles per hour are expected. There could be a few gusts to 40 to 50. It won't be frequent gusts. It'll be more of a gust, occasional gusts with the heavier bands. The strongest winds are expected from the Triangle south and east, but really all of central North Carolina could see some of these strong wind gusts. Again, the main concern, like with tropical systems, is flooding. It always is flooding. Winds are typically a secondary concern. But with Tropical Storm Michael, or it will be Tropical Storm Michael by the time it's moving through our area, the main concern, as always, is flash flooding and flooding. River flooding, no changes really since our 11 o'clock briefing, and obviously we expect a few isolated tornadoes. They can't be ruled out, mainly south and east of the triangle Thursday and Thursday evening. And then, of course, with the winds and the downed trees that occur, there will be, of course, some scattered power outages. So as I go to the next slide here, these slides have been added since our 11 o'clock, just to kind of give just a way to visually demonstrate, the hazards and the impacts. And again, potential for moderate flooding is definitely the case beginning Thursday morning, with the threat lasting through Thursday evening. And then the wind threat, as I pointed out, I've already highlighted this potential for nearly tropical storm force winds, or maybe just above, mainly in gusts. And then here's the area where we think has the greatest potential for these isolated tornadoes. Not to say that there can't be a few isolated tornadoes further west. I mean, certainly, along the I-85 corridor in this area in gray, I mean, we can't rule out an isolated tornado, but we think the area with the best chance to see isolated tornadoes will be this area in yellow. All right. So in terms of total rainfall, this has changed. This is slightly different than 11 o'clock. We've moved this area of heaviest rain a little bit further west. There's been a maybe slight little shift in the westward depiction in our models of this band of heavier rain north and northwest of the low center. There's slightly lower rain amounts across the coastal plain. So that's good news. That's really good news, especially given what we saw with Florence. Certainly with Florence, we had the heaviest rain across the southeast part of the state. Now it looks like a 1 to maybe 3 inch rainfall amount for places that got, rain by the foot with Florence. So again, we're talking places from, just north of Charlotte, just north of Shelby, over to Greensboro, up to Roxboro is where we see that 4 to 6 inch rainfall swath is what we're expecting. So basically all of central North Carolina, 3 to 6 inches of rain, which is the generalization of this rainfall map. 3 to 6 inches of rain is nothing to disregard. I mean, that can produce flash flooding pretty much anywhere across central North Carolina, but we believe at this point the greatest risk for that will be places like Roxboro, Greensboro, Asheboro, Lexington, Burlington, maybe over toward Hillsboro and up toward Henderson. Will probably have those areas will probably have the I-85 corridor, quite frankly, will have the best chance to see those heaviest rainfall amounts and flooding potential, flash flooding potential. All right. So this is a slight update. This is very similar to what I showed earlier with these rainfall simulations. The only thing is it's a little quicker. It's a little faster. So remember, a lot of folks were asking us, hey, we're seeing conflicting information. Some folks are saying, it's not going to get in here till later in the day Thursday. And we were reminding folks that a lot of times these things end up being faster than we initially expect, and that is indeed the case. This system's coming in. The center of the storm is really moving fast right now, compared to a slow-moving storm like Florence. So we do expect the impacts to be felt, during the morning hours. Certainly, we see that initial northern edge of the Michael rain getting into our southern and southwest portions of central North Carolina, certainly during the morning rush hour, if there is a morning rush hour. And then by 11 o'clock, you're going to have these heavy rain bands all the way up to nearly the Virginia border, Roxboro, over to nearly the Triangle and over to Fayetteville. So certainly the best way to describe this is deteriorating conditions during the morning hours. And then by early or by midday or early afternoon, all of central North Carolina will be sort of under the gun with these terrible rain bands and gusty wind conditions. And then finally, we begin to see a little bit of a shift eastward. You notice the center of the storm is going to move basically right over basically from just east of Charlotte over toward Fayetteville up toward Johnston County is where the very center of the circulation is going to go. There won't be like an eye per se, but I'm just saying that's the center of the low. So north of that low will be where these heaviest rain bands will occur. Also, let me point out that any of these little cells that are that are embedded within these rain bands could produce a quick little spin up tornado that lasts very briefly. So I also want to point out that one thing we also noted today in the models is this area behind the low, this area right in here, this part of the rain band. There's some indications that there could be quite a bit of gusty, an area of gusty wind, if you will, perhaps a better or enhanced chance of these stronger wind gusts in this band, this kind of westward side of the low band. So we'll have to watch out when this part of the rain band moves across. There could be a period of some really strong winds. Not strong enough to cause structural damage, but strong enough to blow some trees down. So there may be a secondary structural damage from falling trees, and definitely some power outages. So that's why we've expanded that tropical storm warning. That's why we expanded it northward, because we're thinking that this back edge of this band could, when it moves across, could result in a brief period of more enhanced winds. So what are we talking? We're talking 30 to 50 mile an hour wind gusts. Sustained winds are going to be much lower than that, maybe 15 to 20, 25 mile per hour sustained. So these stronger wind gusts are going to come in just that, gusts. They're not going to be blowing all day long, 30 to 50, but coming in these little brief gusts. Okay, so that's the main concern there. All right. So as we head towards the evening hours, again, I once again want to highlight this area right here. Here's where the low center would be roughly, and in this band right here, this back edge, we're thinking there could be some really, there could be a little bit more in the way of strong wind gusts in this back edge of this band. So again, the reason why we've increased or expanded the tropical storm warning. But fortunately, that's not going to last very long. It's going to come and go very quickly, so that by 11 o'clock, it's pretty much gone from central North Carolina, and mainly eastern North Carolina will be dealing with what's left. By 2 a.m., gone for almost the entire state. By 8 a.m., the sun will be shining. It'll be cooler, much less humid. Low dew points are coming in from the west. It's just going to be a nice day on Friday. Plenty of sunshine, cooler, much less humid, and a high only in the lower 70s for Friday for cleanup. All right. So with that, I'm going to shift gears to a quick look at the rivers, and I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because the river forecasts are updated generally twice a day. So I don't have anything really new since 11 o'clock. So I'm going to go through these pretty quick. Haw River, we're expecting a moderate flood at the Haw River. That would be on Friday. We're expecting a crest of major on the High River near Bynum, 18 feet come 5 p.m. Friday. Looks like the Neuse River at Clayton's going to get to 14.5 feet come late day Friday. Looks like the Neuse River at Smithfield is almost going to get into major, just barely under major flood stage come 5 p.m. Saturday. Notice how that's a day later than Clayton, because it takes a while for all that water to get downstream. And then at Goldsboro, not as bad, because you're only putting maybe 2-3 inches of rain locally into the river system. Most of the flood is going to be a result of water that comes from upstream. And so I would expect the crest probably not any worse than moderate at Goldsboro. All right, what about the Cape Fear, Lillington? Again, moderate flooding there, but on the low end of moderate flooding on Friday. On Saturday, we'll see the Cape Fear at Fayetteville crest well below where it crested during Florence, so no worries there. Almost getting in the moderate flood stage. This is what we didn't see much of with Florence, which is major flooding up at on the Tar. Lewisburg, we're thinking it could get to 24 feet on Friday night. for a crest. And then the Tar River at Rocky Mount, a little bit further downstream, not as bad. Again, the further you go east, the lesser the rainfall amounts are expected. Tarboro, we have it cresting at 28 feet on Monday. Again, it takes a while for all that water to work its way downstream. So these will all be updated around between 8 and 10 o'clock. They run their models starting at 8 o'clock. So look for a late evening update to these hydrographs. Rocky River, I think this come down slightly from what we showed earlier, which we have it almost getting the major flood stage. And this one reacts pretty quickly. So this is a fast rising and fast falling river. So notice how flooding there is expected Friday morning. And then the Fishing Creek near Enfield, just barely moderate. And Moncure, there were some bigger problems there last time with Florence. Right now, we don't expect that to get above minor flood stage on Friday. And the Little River at Manchester is also much, much less than what we had with Florence, cresting around 22 feet on Saturday. All right. All these will be emailed to you. I'm not going to go through this table here for the interest of time, but this table will be included in the set of slides that I email, as well as this table as well. All right. So summarizing it all, fortunately, Michael is fast moving, so it's going to come and go really quick during the day tomorrow. Be out of here by late Friday evening, or late Thursday evening, I should say. Late tomorrow evening, it'll be on its way out of central North Carolina. All right. So again, keep in mind the heavy downpours that will begin. There are some heavy downpours right now with the rain that's out just to our west, across the western portions of central North Carolina. So that's why we put in here heavy downpours tonight for that band that's right now moving across portions of central North Carolina. So there could be again. But we do expect the worst of this weather to occur during the daytime hours, during the daylight hours tomorrow, perhaps lingering into the early evening hours. All right, and then the flooding I just covered, that's going to linger on through this weekend. And then wind gusts, there's certainly going to be some down trees, no doubt about that, and some strong wind gusts, maybe gusting up to 40, maybe 50 miles an hour at worst case. Like I said, it won't be gusting like that all day long. Sustained will be much less. But any of those heavier downpours could give us some strong wind gusts. All right, and finally, don't be surprised if there's a few tornado warnings issued tomorrow. Right now, it looks like the tornado threat is mostly south and east of the triangle. Improving weather Friday. Looks plenty of sunshine, much drier, less humid, highs cooler, low 70s on Friday. So that's the summary. I'm going to get to the questions right now.